listener. But I think it's very important to explore what it is. And for some people, I know it's a flow state. For some people, it's satisfaction. For some people, it's a feeling of contentment. Um, my definition keeps evolving. So the answer I would have given you a year ago would be different than what I tell you now. But today, I believe that happiness is, it's really a default state. It's what's there when you remove the sense that something is missing in your life. And we are highly judgmental survival and replication machines. We're constantly walking around thinking, I need this, I need that, trapped in a web of desires. And happiness is that state when nothing is missing. And when nothing is missing, your mind shuts down and your mind stops running into the future or running into the past to regret something or to plan something. And then in that absence for a moment, you have internal silence. And when you have internal silence, then you are content and you're happy. I think people believe mistakenly, and feel free to disagree because again, it's different for everybody. But people believe mistakenly that happiness is about positive thoughts and positive actions. But the more I've read, the more I've learned, the more I've experienced, because I verify this for myself, every positive thought essentially holds within a negative thought, is a contrast to something negative. The Tao Te Ching says this more articulately than I ever could, but it's all duality, polarity. So if I say I'm happy, that means that I was sad at some point. If I say he's attractive, then that means that somebody else is unattractive. So every positive thought even has a seed of a negative thought within it, and vice versa. Which is why a lot of greatness in life comes out of suffering. You have to view the negative before you can aspire to and then appreciate the positive. So all of that said, long-winded, to me, happiness is not about positive thoughts. It's not about negative thoughts. It's about the absence of desire, especially the absence of desire for external things. And so the fewer desires I can have, the happier I can, or the more I can accept the current state of things, the less my mind is moving, because the mind really exists in motion towards the future or the past. The more present I am, the happier and more content I will be. But if I latch onto that, if I say, ooh, I'm happy now and I want to stay happy, then I'm going to drop out of that happiness, because now suddenly the mind is moving, it's trying to attach to something, it's trying to create a permanent situation out of a temporary situation. So happiness to me is mainly not suffering, not desiring, not thinking too much about the future or the past, really embracing the present moment and the reality of what is the way it is. Because nature has no concept of happiness or unhappiness. To a tree, there is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. Nature follows unbroken mathematical laws and a chain of cause and effect from the Big Bang to now. And everything is perfect exactly the way it is. It's only in our particular minds that we're unhappy or not happy, and things are perfect or imperfect because of what we desire. But I think I've also come to believe in the complete and utter insignificance of the self. And I think that helps a lot. Like, for example, if you thought you were the most important thing in the universe, then you would have to bend the entire universe to your will. Because if you're the most important thing in the universe, then how could it not conform to your desires? And if it doesn't conform to your desires, something's wrong. However, if you view yourself as a bacteria or an amoeba, or if you view all of your works as writing on water or building castles in the sand, then you have no expectation from how life should actually be. Life is just the way it is. And then you sort of accept that and you have no cause to be happy or unhappy. Those things almost don't apply. And what you're left with in that neutral state is not neutrality. I think people think, oh, that would be a very bland existence. No, this is the existence that little children live. And if you look at little children, on balance, they're generally pretty happy. Because they're really immersed into the environment in the moment without any thought of how it should be given their personal preferences and desires. So I think the neutral state is actually a perfection state, and one can be very happy as long as one isn't too caught up in their own heads.
What does your internal monologue go like when you find yourself trying to attach to something by default?
Yeah, I try to keep an eye on my internal monologue. It doesn't always work, but in the computer programming sense, I try to run my brain in debugging mode as much as possible. And when I'm talking to someone, like I'm talking to you right now, or when I'm engaged in a group activity, it's almost impossible because your brain has too many things to handle. But if I'm by myself, like just this morning, I'm brushing my teeth and I start thinking forward to the podcast. And I started going through this little fantasy where I imagined you asking me a bunch of questions and I was fantasy answering them. And then I caught myself. I put my brain in debug mode and just watch every little instruction go by. And I said, why am I fantasy future planning? Why can't I just stand here and brush my teeth, right? And it's just the awareness that my brain was running off in the future and planning some fantasy scenario out of ego, I was like, well, do I really care if I embarrass myself on Shane's podcast? Who cares? I'm going to die anyway. This is all going to go to zero, and I won't remember anything. So this is pointless. So at that point, I shut down. I went back to brushing my teeth, and then I was noticing how great the toothbrush was and how good it felt. And then next moment, I'm off to thinking something else, and then I have to look at my brain again and say, do I really need to solve this problem right now? And the reality is that 95% of what my brain runs off and tries to do, I don't need to tackle at that exact moment. In fact, if it's like a muscle, then I'll be better off resting it, being at peace, and then when the particular problem arises, immerse myself in it. So what I would rather dedicate myself to is, for example, right now as we're talking, to be completely lost in the conversation and to be 100% focused on this, as opposed to thinking about, oh, when I brush my teeth, did I do it the right way, or planning something else in my mind. So I think the ability to singularly focus is related to the ability to lose yourself and be present, happy, and actually, ironically, more effective.